there's an awful lot of write-ups about what's happened between Boris Johnson and the EU over Friday night and the results of all of that. Have we learned much?
Well, we've learned a little bit of the detail of the tone of the phone calls, if you like. I mean, during the day, it was quite interesting because Downing Street were very much really trying to rise above it, keep out of it, saying this is a matter about a contract about vaccines between the EU and AstraZeneca. We don't want to get involved.
And they had heard, it's alleged, on Twitter, there's a tweet had alerted them to the fact that the EU was likely to stop the export of the Pfizer vaccine into the UK.
Yeah, so it was export controls being brought in, which led to the possibility that European Union countries could say, no, actually, we want to know what's going where, and if it's going somewhere and we don't want it to, we can actually stop it. And then in the small print was something that was even more explosive, which was the idea that Northern Ireland, which has a special status, of course, free trade between the EU and Northern Ireland, pretty much, they wouldn't have that when it comes to vaccines, because the Commission was worried this would be a backdoor. Maybe the UK could ship these vaccines to Northern Ireland, it could go into the rest of the UK.
And that in turn would mean a border in Ireland, which both sides have been against, and that's triggering Article 16 is the technical term for that.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, actually, in the Sunday Telegraph. I mean, I don't know about you, Sunday Times. Yeah. You know, I've become slightly obsessed with how these vaccines are all working and all the rest of it. This is about the international supply chains. It's not as easy as saying, yep, all our vaccines are produced in this country, we'll be absolutely fine, we don't need to bother about anyone else. What happens?
We make our own gloop, don't we? But it's what then happens to it.
Yeah, that's the technical term. So it's brewed here in places like Oxford and Kiel. Some of it goes to Wrexham to get put into the glass vials, but a lot of it is sent to Germany, where they put it into glass vials for us and send it back again. So therefore you can see why the threat from the Commission to say actually we might stop some of this stuff coming back to you is actually so difficult.
On Friday night, the European Commission announced its intention to override part of the Brexit agreement to tighten controls on COVID vaccines leaving the EU, therefore creating a hard border in Ireland. It's reported this morning that the Taoiseach, the Irish Prime Minister, only heard about the EU plan when Boris Johnson called him from London. Mr Martin joins me now from Dublin. Welcome and thanks for joining us, Mr Martin. Was it really true that the first you heard about this extraordinary EU plan was when Boris Johnson phoned you and told you about it?
No, I don't know where you got that from, Andrew, but that certainly was not the case. As you know, the Commission issued a public announcement on the issue, and that's when we first became aware of it. And my chief official responsible for the protocol on European affairs more generally contacted Ursula von der Leyen's team immediately, and I then contacted the President of the Commission and articulated the very serious implications the move would have for the operation of the protocol and the protocol itself. And to be fair to the President of the Commission, took on board fairly quickly my concerns, and that began then a series of engagements between our two teams. And I had a number of conversations with President von der Leyen, and in the aftermath of those I also spoke, of course, to the British Prime Minister, to Boris, and we discussed the implications of all of this, and the importance of getting a resolution by close of that evening, or Friday evening. And thankfully the Commission did issue a statement pulling back and reversing its decision. That is the factual situation as it emerged on Friday evening.
So what do you think are the possible long-term consequences of this row?
Well, 2 points I would make. It certainly wasn't an act of hostility by the European Commission, and my experience all along throughout the Brexit debate has been an acute awareness, notwithstanding the events of Friday, on behalf of the European Union member states and indeed the Commission, about getting the Northern Ireland situation right and supporting the overall edifice of the Good Friday Agreement, and making sure that we would negotiate structures and mechanisms like the protocol that would facilitate the continuation of the Good Friday Agreement and all of its aspects. Secondly, in terms of the implications here, I do think, and having discussed this with the British Prime Minister and indeed with the Commission, that there's an opportunity now to re-engage, to make sure that the protocol operates smoothly and efficiently on behalf of all citizens on the island, and particularly around issues pertaining to the movement of goods between the UK and Northern Ireland. It took 4 years to put this together. We are only 4 weeks into the agreement and into the operation of the protocol. There are bound to be teething problems, but I do acknowledge the need for engagement here on all sides between the European Union, the United Kingdom and the Irish government, and indeed the Northern Ireland Executive. And there are mechanisms to facilitate that.
Okay. Would you like to see the UK quite soon starting to distribute some of that vaccine both into the EU, but also, because there's a common travel area between our countries, into Ireland as well?
In line with WHO concerns, I think all of us have a collective responsibility to ensure that the developing world, and particularly frontline workers in the developing world, are vaccinated as well, because this is a global situation.
Sure.
There's very little point in the virus raging across developing countries while we vaccinate 100% here, because that will mean more mutations, and I just heard your earlier conversation, that creates its own potential complications in terms of vaccines and so forth. So we have a journey to go, but I think we will get there. And I think we, as I said earlier, if we can just calm down, all of us, there's an understandable race against time in relation to getting the vaccines out. But if you think about it, what has happened in the last 10 months has been truly remarkable, that we've managed to facilitate the development of vaccines in such a short space of time. The third wave is on, so there's a lot of understandable anxiety, but we will get there.
We will get there. Just returning to the little local difficulties, the EU has suggested that AstraZeneca vaccine produced in the UK should now be diverted to the EU. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, I think, look, the main issue with the EU Commission and AstraZeneca is that the contractual obligations that were signed up to be delivered. No, that's it. And AstraZeneca have manufacturing sites across Europe, in the UK. The precise mechanism by which AstraZeneca delivers on its contractual obligations is a matter for AstraZeneca. But there is a genuine desire within the European Union that the contract is honoured, and that will obviously be the subject of further discussions with the company and the Commission.
I suppose the thing is that the UK signed a contract with AstraZeneca months and months before the EU did, and that contract obliged AstraZeneca to provide the UK first. Something has gone wrong inside the EU's procurement process. What do you think it is?
Well, you're suggesting that. I mean, in terms of, and I know the UK, to be fair, have signed contracts with AstraZeneca, have put a lot of investment in behind AstraZeneca, but likewise the EU did as well. And it seems to me the same problems have not arisen in relation to, for example, the relationship between the Commission and Pfizer-BioNTech, Moderna, or indeed Johnson & Johnson and others. So it's not a one-way process here. There's clearly two players here, and I know that the Commission is not happy in relation to the situation with AstraZeneca.
One other aspect of the politics of this that will have alarmed an awful lot of people in Britain, and I suspect outside Britain as well, is when President Macron said, and I quote, that the AstraZeneca vaccine was quasi-ineffective on those aged over 65 and possibly over 60. Now, that is not true, so far as we can tell. Is it dangerous to say those kind of things?
Yes, I don't think politicians should pronounce on the efficacy or otherwise of vaccines. I think we should leave that to the authorisation bodies.
And on this, he's wrong,
isn't he? In the European case, in terms of the European Medicines Agency, you have your authorities in the United Kingdom. We have our own member state bodies as well, which is currently examining that issue right now.
Liz Truss, the International Trade Secretary, thanks for joining us. Can you absolutely guarantee that the flow of Pfizer vaccines into this country will not be disrupted?
Yes, I can. The Prime Minister has spoken to the President of the European Commission. She has assured him that there will be no disruption of contracts that we have with any producer in the EU. And that's a really important principle. I don't think it's right for politicians to be commenting or making decisions about the efficacy of vaccines. That's why we have independent authorities to look at these vaccines. And in the UK's case, our authority has said that this vaccine is safe and effective. It's being rolled out and it's already making a difference.